before the remake came out, I actually walked you through the entire game.
The entire game?
Yes, I walked you through 50 hours of Final Fantasy VII, a large chunk of which was actually streamed. And you were drunk throughout most of it, and then at the end, you confused it with the ending of Transformers Beast Wars.
Hi, Sophie.
Hi, Sin.
Hi, everyone. And welcome to How to Catch a Fearsome Critter, Episode 7. And today we're going to talk about the SlideRock Bolter. Now, Sophie.
Yes.
This cryptid's name has 3 sections. Slide. What do we mean by the word slide?
Well, Sin, it slides. That's its primary method of locomotion. It also seems to be able to climb with its tail. That part's a little more vague.
Yeah. Now, then we have rock. We could be talking about the rock, but we're not. My boyfriend and I do this thing where sometimes, when you walk, you have little rocks that fly into your shoes. And when that happens and we notice, it's like, oh no, I'm giving the rock a lift. And then you take the rocks out of your shoes. But it's like you pretend it's Dwayne Johnson. It's very funny.
Yeah, so for reference, Sin didn't, edit my audio out there for comic effect. I was just staring blankly and not saying anything.
By rock, we mean mountain. And Sophie.
Yes, Sin.
What do we mean when we say bolter?
Well, a bolter is a weapon from Warhammer 40,000, and Games Workshop are notoriously litigious. So I think by mentioning the name, we have already been demonetized.
Thank you, Sophie. So, in the mountains of Colorado, there's this creature that's called a SlideRock Bolter.
Yep.
Its appearance is like this giant, cartoony killer whale, I guess?
It looks like a whale, yes.
Yeah, I don't know the difference between a killer whale and a regular whale, but it's definitely a killer.
Is a killer whale even a whale? Isn't that one of those things where, it's an orca's a killer whale, but an orca's not a whale? We spent too long researching cryptids. We don't know anything about animals that actually exist.
Okay, I'm sorry. Killer whale looks like a dolphin. What about a regular whale?
No, it's an orca. An orca or killer whale is a toothed whale. Okay, good. It's a kind of dolphin.
Okay.
Okay,
Excellent.
good. Now back to serious real animals that we've put effort into researching. We don't know anything about orcas, but we know all about the SlideRock Bolter.
So it looks more like a whale, like a blue whale, from what I'm seeing. Like you said, it climbs up mountains with its tail, and the tail is divided into 2 hooks.
Yeah,
and when it climbs up the mountain and hooks itself on the top of the mountain with its tail, its special skill is releasing the hooks, sliding down the mountain, opening its mouth, and consuming things on its path.
Yeah, it's a bobsled.
It's a bobsled.
Is it really the animal's special skill? It's just lets go of something. The work's largely done by gravity. Surely the skill is the part where it climbs up. That's the hard part.
Oh my god.
When you think about the size of that thing and how long it would take to actually climb with its tail. Letting go is the easy part.
But when it climbs, does it walk on its tail upright? Or does it use the hook to hook itself up?
I was picturing it using the hook, but what you've described is very funny.
Thank you, Sophie. That's why in order for this whole thing to work, we have to keep in mind that the mountain has to be at a 45 degree or greater. It's very important. It was in the book by William T. Cox, who wrote about the creature.
Yeah. Was this from personal experience that he had with one, or did he go and live with a community of them like Jane Goodall?
No, Sophie. The SlideRock Bolter had a particular affinity for eating tourists. Apparently, there's the story of this ranger who one day decided to sort of stop this creature from eating tourists and destroying the trees in the forest as it slides down the mountains. And what this ranger did is it created like a decoy tourist and filled him with some sort of explosive or something, which is pretty violent, but okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And the tourist decoy was dressed in a Norfolk jacket and knee breeches and had a guidebook to Colorado.
Well, that implies a lot about their eyesight. They can identify a guidebook to Colorado from the top of a mountain. Although, to be fair, I mean, if they live in Colorado, they probably understand or they recognize the area.
Oh, okay. Okay, very good. The bolter fell for it, and, they slid down, ate the tourist, and then exploded.
Can identify a map of Colorado, but can't tell the difference between a human and a dummy.
Thank you, Sophie.
You studied psychology. There's got to be something in that. Like maybe it can't place facial features.
Late at night, I think of you. Your vision floods my mind.
Maybe its brain just like it's not terribly developed because it's constantly bashing its head as it's going down the mountains. So it's evolved a massively thick skull and a tiny brain. It's hyper evolved to just notice maps of Colorado.
Thank you, Sophie. Apparently, the explosion was so great, it flattened half the buildings in Rico that were never rebuilt.
Well, I've heard that, but we'll get to it later.
The birds of the area ate the bolter's remains for the rest of the summer. The end.
Thank you, Sin. So you went to the primary source.
Okay, yes.
I, on the other hand, did my own research. So, the SlideRock Bolter is one of the more popular Fearsome Critters, so much so that it has its own entry on the Villains Wiki. It's almost entirely copied and pasted from its entry on the Cryptid Wiki. But it adds one extra sentence that I really like. While there are no new sightings of the creature, many believe that it still exists, but that it has evolved into a more rock-like form in order to evade threats. Another appearance from one of our favourite characters, the passive voice. Many believe this. There's no citation for that, but I'll take their word for it. So then I went to my number one source, which is the Cryptid Wiki. And as usual, the commenters on the Cryptid Wiki are a little incredulous toward the existence of the SlideRock Bolter, as they often are toward Fearsome Critters of the Lumberwoods. So we get, what I don't get is... how people didn't notice the gigantic fish on top of the mountain. They make a good point. But two people provide possible explanations for this. The first one is that the SlideRock Bolter is camouflaged so that it blends into the mountain. This could be one of the many people from the Villains Wiki who believe the SlideRock Bolter has evolved to blend into its environment. And there's also one that I like, which is that if the mountain was high enough that the clouds were on the top of it, you couldn't see what was up there.
That's true.
We have another one that's, well, I might believe it if there was a little more evidence. Then someone points out that the Fearsome Critters of the Lumberwoods were designed to be as ridiculous as possible, and treating them like they might have existed sort of misses the point. And then someone says, no, not all of them. A small few was simply misidentifications. So, what do we think the SlideRock Bolter could be a misidentification of?
A whale who lives on a mountain, Sophie, clearly.
The problem with that is, Colorado's quite far inland. But I'm thinking, maybe if there was, a really, really powerful, storm that picked the whale up into the clouds and dropped it. You sometimes get, rains of frogs and rains of fish. Yeah. Maybe there's just, it was just min-maxing. And all of that effort went into having a rain of one whale. And, then we get someone who simply replies, sounds fake. There was also a Reddit post simply titled, The SlideRock Bolter, A whale living in the mountains of Colorado? Or something else? It had one upvote and no comments. But now we come to the most important question.
Yes.
How do we catch it?
Well, the ranger attempted to catch it, but then they murdered it.
Yeah, that's the problem. Someone's already tried catching it and it didn't work. So I thought about this for a while, probably longer than anyone's thought about the SlideRock Bolter.
Mm-hmm.
So earlier in this discussion, I likened it to a bobsled.
Yes.
Now, like a lot of 90s kids, I have an indelible memory of the comedy film Cool Runnings. So, people who haven't seen that, Cool Runnings was a John Candy comedy about the Jamaican bobsled team. The core joke being that Jamaica does not have snow, but they had a bobsled team.
Yeah, I remember that. I actually watched this in the Soviet Union.
I like how we're at the point now where I'm not even surprised that there was a Russian dub of Cool Runnings, like, circulating through bootleg channels in the Soviet Union. What's it called in the Soviet Union?
I don't remember, but I remember it fondly.
So I remembered that, like, there was some contrived situation in Cool Runnings that meant that they had to, like, they got disqualified or something.
Yeah.
I remembered watching the movie like a dozen times. I remember there was a song that they sung about how Jamaica had a bobsled team. I don't remember anything else that happened in it. So I had to go and look up the plot of Cool Runnings. And it turned out that what happened in Cool Runnings is that they were briefly disqualified because their coach had previously cheated in another bobsledding event by putting weights in his bobsled.
Ah.
I'm not sure how we'd apply that to the SlideRock Bolter, though. So I crossed that one off the list. You might be saying, Sophie, that was completely pointless. No, I'm showing my work. Okay?
Thank you, Sophie.
Second thing I thought about was that I was trying to think of, like, what animals other than whales do these remind me of? I was thinking they kind of remind me of the sandworms from Dune. So then I was thinking what we'll do is we'll get Timothy Chalamet to try impressing the natives of Colorado by catching and riding on the back of a SlideRock Bolter.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So that's in the maybe column. But then I was getting a little like, oh, I don't know what to say. And then I went back to the story of Rico, which was the city that was destroyed when they blew up a SlideRock Bolter. So I went and I looked up Rico, and it's still there. No signs of damage anywhere. The city has been rebuilt. And I reckon if you went there today and you asked about the SlideRock Bolter, they wouldn't know what you were talking about. They'd deny anything happened. And this made me think, Sin, you're an aficionado. Sin, you're familiar with the great artistic works.
Anti-geist.
Not quite on that level. But Sin, can you think of another story of, say, a small, isolated mountain town that was covered in snow, and it was destroyed during a mysterious event, and then when everyone came back again, it was just rebuilt? And they'd hired people to live there to pretend that nothing had happened?
Are we talking about Dark Souls?
No, we're talking about Final Fantasy VII. A game that we played together, except you were drunk and you don't remember it.
I was about to say I've never seen the Final Fantasy VII in my life, Sophie. I've just seen the trailers.
Yeah. So that's not actually true, because before the remake came out, I actually walked you through the entire game.
The entire game?
Yes, I walked you through 50 fucking hours of Final Fantasy VII, a large chunk of which was actually streamed. And you were drunk throughout most of it, and then at the end, you confused it with the ending of Transformers Beast Wars. But nevertheless, you were there. Maybe if you get drunk again, you'll remember it. So I think that it's the Shinra Electric Power Company that's behind these things. Because who else would do this? So the solution, therefore, is we have to look around Rico and look for people in black robes. Because they'll all have traces of the SlideRock Bolter in them, and they'll be travelling on a pilgrimage to reunite with the SlideRock Bolter. So if we follow them, we'll find the SlideRock Bolter frozen in ice in the northern crater, and that's how we'll catch it. Also, someone on the Cryptid wiki thinks they're salamanders.
Thank you, Sophie.
Thank
Do
you.
the outro.
That was How to Catch a Fearsome Critter, Episode 7. The SlideRock Bolter. For all the people who were wondering where Sin was in the last episode. She was asleep and not feeling well, but she's clearly better now. Sure, the next time we have to discuss Elden Ring, she'll conveniently develop another illness.
Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you, Sin.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Hi, Sophie.
Okay, here's the fucked up thing about those earpods, right? Here's the fucked up thing. I know we're recording, but there's a fucked up thing.
Yes.
It's that they have like a touch interface on them. So every time I take them out, I end up touching them and it does something like play an audio track or something like that. Or like skip ahead. And I've got this this yokai playlist on. So as I'm taking the earpod out, it's skipping ahead and it's playing like random yokai facts to me.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Snack Covenant episode.